tell you how I quit smoking. From where I am today, it's hard to believe that I was once a smoker, but I really had a hard time quitting the habit, and I had a fairly healthy lifestyle otherwise, so it was really annoying to me that I had trouble quitting. And what I did was I would try several times to quit, and I'd become so unhappy, I'd be crying or just miserable, and I think, well, I might as well just smoke rather than be miserable. Or I would say, well, it's been a week I haven't had a cigarette, so I can have 1 or 2 a day, no problem. As soon as I started smoking again, it'd be a habit. So I want to tell you how I finally quit for good. And but first of all, I want to tell you what some of my symptoms were, because I think it's important to recognize that if you're smoking, you know it's not good for you. You know the chemicals that are in the cigarettes are just unbelievable. Intellectually, you know that it's unhealthy, but you may minimize the things, the symptoms that you experience. For example, I had shortness of breath, going up a flight of stairs, and I was in my 30s at the time. I had things like I would be always clearing my throat as if there was something in there, like this, constantly. I really wasn't very healthy in general. I'd have colds and things like that. So what I decided to do was, first of all, to recognize that the so-called failures were actually a learning experience. I was learning what didn't work. And so when I finally decided, okay, this is it, I don't care how much I cry, I'm just not going to smoke. I have to stop. I had learned that vitamin C is excellent for flushing nicotine out of the system, and that's part of the problem, is that you're addicted, and you have to admit that. That's a really important realization to come to, that it's always the addiction talking. In fact, you're divided, because a part of you says, well, I want to quit smoking. Another part of you says, no, I don't. I need it, I want it, I like it, it's great. It relaxes me. You come up with all these excuses, well, I could be hit by a bus, illogical things. That if I quit smoking, that's my only vice, things like this. These are things that I told myself, and I'm sure you do too. But you have to recognize that who's in control? Who's in control of my body? And these are the things that, I used to think about. I would think, okay, what if I got lung cancer? What would I do? Would I quit smoking? I hope I would. Would I pray, pray to somebody, please take the lung cancer away when I'm smoking and destroying my health? What if I got pregnant? Would I quit smoking? I hope that I would. So, I decided that I really had to get control of myself and get control over the addiction. So what I did was I went on a cleanse, a 3-day cleanse with lots of juice, lots of fresh juice, lots of lemon in particular. And I also prepared carrots and celery cut up if I had a craving to have something in my hands or something like that. Turned out I didn't. I didn't need it. It was the juice that was very effective. So what I would find, and this is part of the thing that I really didn't like about smoking, is this constant nagging feeling of needing something. So, it's 10 o'clock, my break is at 10:30, I'm getting anxious, want to smoke. So what I discovered was, it never gets beyond that feeling of, feeling anxious, wanting to smoke. If you don't smoke, okay, you get that feeling, it goes away. It'll come back, it goes away. But the period between that gets longer and longer until magically you're not even thinking about smoking at all. Some of the things that I didn't like about smoking were the smell on myself, on my clothing, in the house, the inconvenience of it all, trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to be on the airplane for 6 hours, can I smoke somewhere at the airport, all that. Constantly thinking about smoking, when is my break time, that whole inconvenience, the cost of it, a lot of money just literally going up in smoke, the whole health issue. When you look at all the negatives about smoking, it's quite amazing that I could rationalize that. But then you have to think about, okay, what are the benefits? Well, you can say it relaxes you. It really doesn't, but you can say that. Or, you know, it's an enjoyment, it's a pleasure. But there are also deeper things associated with it, such as a sense of belonging. You know, you can go outside for a smoke, and you're going to find other people who are out there, and you sort of have that camaraderie. There's the other thing of sort of escaping from uncomfortable social situations. And the other thing is there's a brand identification with smoking, and I found that my particular brand, I was very addicted to that. Other brands I could try and didn't enjoy them at all. So I think it's important to look at what you're getting from it as well. But to face it honestly and like brutally honest about this dichotomy of I want to smoke but I don't want to smoke. Who's in charge? You know, who's going to be the one that says, you're not going to do it. I'm in control of this body, and I'm not going to let you ruin my health. Knowing what I know now, I would have done things a little bit differently. I would still have done the cleanse, which I think is really, really important to get as much of the toxins out as quickly as possible so that you have less withdrawal. But what I would have done was I would have started on a 100% raw food diet, ideally for 2 months beforehand. That way you're flushing things out naturally, and you're also in a sense awakening to come to the realization of what you're really doing. And this is part, I think, of the process that you're waking up and saying, what am I doing here? If somebody had asked me to poison myself 20 times a day for 3 minutes, would I do that? Would I suck on some hose that was attached to all these different toxic chemicals? Of course not. It's the addiction that makes you do it. So I think if you do go raw, you'll find that you'll become so conscious of the smoking that you would just won't want to do it anymore. But the other thing is to have a supplement with vitamin C, and also with niacin, which will give you a flushing reaction, but it's really good to get toxins out, and it's also very good for smokers. That's vitamin B3 or niacin. I would supplement that. I would also supplement the B12s for stress, and I would do whatever you can do for a parasite cleanse. David Wolf suggests that there may be a connection between parasites and tobacco smoking. So I would suggest that you do either a parasite cleanse or use a zapper. I have one that was made by Don Croft. David Wolf has his own newer version. Whatever you can use. This is the zapper that is made by Don Croft. There's you just turn it on here, and this helps to kill the parasites, virus, fungus, etc. in the body. Now, what David Wolf recommends is that you hold this part of it against your skin for 30 days in total. So you put it on the soles of your feet at night or on the palm of your hand, and you keep it against your skin for 30 days. Now, I did this, and the first time I did this, I passed something that was, I don't know what it was, a jelly-like thing, which I'm pretty sure was some kind of a parasite. It's been over 10 years since I quit smoking, and I'm so glad that I did. Occasionally I run into people who say that they're still craving a cigarette even though they haven't smoked in years. But for me, I never looked back. It was just the best thing that ever happened to me. I feel so much better, and I'm so glad that I quit. So I want to emphasize the two main points which I think are important is the awareness of what you're really doing. And the other thing is recognize that a part of you doesn't want to quit, and so you have to really be strong and have a firm resolve in order to take control of your body. And you'll find that, like for me, quitting smoking was something that gave me the resolve to do other things as well. I knew it was tough. I did it, and now I'm much better at making positive choices for myself.